Think about it. Think about it. Think about it.
Welcome once again to High School Basketball Weekly. Tim Maury along with my partner in crime, Rick Bua, for another week of reviewing high school basketball action here in Berkshire County. And Rick, once again, the story of this past week in high school basketball in Berkshire County is the pandemic.
It is, Tim, and it's getting very frustrating, not just for us, because we so much enjoy covering our local high school basketball teams at Hoosick, Drury, Greylock, and McCann. And we're just chomping at the bit. But think about the coaches and the players. We talked about it a little bit last week, how much practice these kids have had. It's been practice after practice because it all started, as we said on some previous shows, over in the Pioneer Valley and over in the General Springfield area where they paused basketball. So it really wasn't, it was bad in Berkshire County, but Berkshire County teams weren't causing the postponements. But then it kind of hit home recently, and several of the schools here, in particular Drury High School and Lee High School, maybe a couple others also, paused basketball, both boys and girls, for a short period of time. So everybody is just waiting to play some basketball.
Absolutely, and we look at, for instance, the girls' action over the past week. Two of our local teams, Hoosick and Drury, they haven't played over the past week. Hoosick hasn't played since December 29th when they played that exciting game against Taconic and beat Taconic. They've had a couple of games canceled, and even more so, the Blue Devils. They haven't played since they played Hoosick Valley, Rick.
Yeah, we'll start off with Hoosick Valley. The Hurricane girls are still sitting where they were last week during our program at 5-1, and they're doing great. And they, as you said, last topped Taconic on the 29th. So you're talking about 14 or 15 days before the Hurricane girls get back on the court again. They're scheduled to host Munson on the 13th. So that's right with us right now. So hopefully that's going to happen. For the Drury girls, they're still sitting at 3-2, and as you said, they haven't played since the loss up at the Bucky Village Gym to the Hurricane girls, and they haven't played since the 27th. So again, you're looking at 15, 16, sometimes even 17 days without the girls playing basketball. The game against Lenox on the 11th was postponed. They're going to try to do it on the 13th. That would be the reopening of Drury High School basketball after a pause for about a week and a half.
And a young lady for Hoosick Valley, Rick, who hasn't played yet this year but is chomping at the bit and is going to be back in action, is their fine two-way player, Rylan Wittick. So they've gone 5-1 without Wittick, who's really one of their finer players. So that's going to be interesting to see how she fits into the scheme at Hoosick Valley. They were hoping to get her back in some of these games that have been postponed. So whenever they start playing, she'll be out there on the floor for Hoosick Valley. So that's going to be a big addition for them.
It is. That's great news for Coach McGovern getting her back. And she's a very good athlete. She's a good basketball player. Enjoyed watching her play the last couple of years in a somewhat backup role just because of the talented Hurricanes teams that Coach McGovern had last year, Coach Wojcik had the year before. But getting her out on the floor, she's going to score. She's scrappy. She plays defense. And you're gonna see some good things. The one game I'm sure that Hoosick has been waiting for, not looking too far over, but the rematch with Amherst gave them their only blemish of the season. That game was postponed. They will be made up at some point, so they'll have plenty of time to think about taking that one away from the Hurricanes of Amherst.
Well, let's talk about some teams that did play. Mount Greylock, they had a game against Springfield ICS. Rick. They lost to Springfield ICS, but their schedule is favorable for them coming up.
Yeah, the Springfield International Charter School, which I believe, Tim, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, was Sabas previously. That's correct. And they've had a great girls and boys program for quite some time. The girls getting better and better all the time. The boys right from the onset. As far as Greylock's concerned. No shame whatsoever to lose by 30 points to Springfield ICS that is undefeated in their league so far and seems to be one of the better girls teams in Division 5. So Abby Scalabia with 12 points. She's been the mainstay so far for Coach John Jacoby's team. But they got a couple games coming up, Tim, where I think they're going to be very competitive. They're going to be in these games for sure, one way or another. We'll have to see. But they face Monument Mountain on the 14th, Ludlow on the 18th, and then Drury right after that. Drury could be their toughest of the three, but they should be able to be competitive in all three of those games. And that's what Coach Jacoby's girls are going to need is a win here, a win there, just to taste victory, make themselves feel good, make practices a little bit better and easier. So we'll see what happens when they get back on the court.
A team that did also play in action, the Lady Hornets of McCann, Rick, and they're moving in the right direction. They're back to 500.
Yeah, they won. They were one of the few teams that played a couple games, Tim, during this week, and they play. Well, maybe it was just the one game. Yeah, they did have a couple cancel. Now that I'm looking at my sheet here, but they did get back to 500 at 2-2, defeating Athol 55-34. They were led by sophomore center Hannah Boisvert that I saw play when I did the Jamboree down at Hoosick Valley with you. She was very impressive. She's a sophomore. She's very tall. She's a great rebounder. Coach Kathy Boudet was just quoted saying that she has had a little bit of trouble with putting some putbacks in underneath the hoop, but certainly had a great game against Athol. Was the leading scorer for the Hornets with 14 points. And get this, Tim, 19 rebounds.
Absolutely.
So that is pretty incredible. Junior Macy Tatro, we call her the other big.
That's right.
She's like 5'9", 5'10" herself. She had 13 points and 11 rebounds, and Reagan Rose and Katrina Marsh each contributed 10. So that's what Coach Boudet's team is going to need. Izzy Lacasse is out for a few games, and she will be back very, very soon also. And so when they get their whole team rolling, hopefully they'll have good things. I know we kind of beat this to death on this program, or at least I do. I think McCann is suited in their league, and they're going to be very competitive, and they should be fine. But they're at 2-2 right now.
Well, we talked about Hannah Boisvert. I was so impressed with her at the Bucky Bullet Jamboree. And Rick, she's this week's High School Girls Player of the Week.
Yeah, only a sophomore, still learning a lot about the game. But she looks like a basketball player, Tim. She backs herself into the paint, knows when to get out of there, so she doesn't get the 3-second call. And double digits, a double-double like that. And again, I know her picture's not up there, but Macy Tatro, the junior, with 13 points and double figures in rebounds too. So it was a toss-up, and we chose Hannah Boisvert based upon that, especially that 19 rebounds. That's pretty impressive for any athlete in any game.
And that, you alluded to it, Rick, that tandem of Boisvert and Tatro up front is going to cause a lot of problems as this year goes along, especially with a great guard in the backcourt and Izzy Lacasse. And again, you look at their league, and we're going to look at this now for a little bit on the girls' side. You look at the league that McCann plays in, and you can look at that, and you can see right now they're 1-1 in their league, 2 overall. This is a league they are going to be able to compete very well in, and they're going to be a threat as the year goes along.
Yeah, it really looks right now. East Hampton is one of the better teams in Western Mass right now, Tim, sitting at 7-0. The Lady Lee Wildcats sitting at 3-0. They've only played 3 games. So, again, here we go again with some teams playing 7-8 games, some only playing 2 or 3. And Southwick's only played 1 game. So, I'm sorry, Renaissance only played 1 game. But McCann sitting at 2-2, kind of like the middle of the pack. But, they're going to compete against Mount Everett, Pope Francis, pretty much all the teams, including Lee. The game coming up when the Lady Wildcats visit the Hornets' Nest is going to be quite a good ball game, too. So, tough league, but a good league, and I think they're set where they should be. And I see them winning more ball games than they lose this year. I'll say that much.
Likewise, you look at the girls' Central division, the division that Drury is set up in, along with Mount Greylock. And looking at that, of course, Springfield ICS, they're undefeated, but I think Drury can play with any team in that league, and I think Mount Greylock will acquit themselves well right now.
Yeah, you've got Springfield International Charter sitting at 4-0, Agawam at 5-1, and then Drury still over 500 at 3-2. Again, haven't played in several days, but they'll get those games made up very, very quickly. The other 2 schools you mentioned, Tim, Monument Mountain and Mount Greylock, 2 Berkshire County teams, kind of close behind. Belchertown at 3-3, still 500. So good league. But again, Springfield ICS could be the heads-on favorite in that division, but I think Drury will be competitive against pretty much every. They didn't lose by that much at home. They do have a rematch at ICS coming up very shortly too.
You look at the girls suburban. This is a conference, Rick, that's really loaded. You look at it from kind of top to bottom right now. Amherst Pelham on top, undefeated at 5-0, followed by Waconan, Hoosick Valley, and South Hadley. Those are real traditional basketball powers.
Yeah, and you and I, Tim, were talking a little bit before this show off camera, and I was saying, boy, you take a look at that league, how tough it is. They've got some really great girls Western Mass High School basketball team, all in the girls suburban this year. First year for this league with the MIAA changes made. And these are the teams that traditionally, over the years, with the longtime Coaches versus Cancer Saturday in January at Hoosick Valley, these are the teams that you would see over and over again that would get invited over. And they were the cream of the crop from the Pioneer Valley, the over the mountain we call it. And they loved coming to Hoosick Valley to get to play some Berkshire County teams because they knew they were going to have to get through Berkshire County when Western Mass tournament time came. So, you've got Amherst at 5-0, Wacona at 8-1. They have not played yet, logically. Wacona's only lost to Hoosick Valley, who's sitting at 5-1. They're only lost to Amherst. So
right.
Again, it's they could knock each other off at any point. And then you've got teams like South Hadley, Munson, Granby, and Hampshire that were all powerhouses at one time. And somebody's going to finish first, somebody's going to finish last. That's just the way it is when you just put them all together like that. It's a great, great league.
An interesting league I look at, with respect to the tournament, Rick, is to go over to the Valley League where Taconic plays in that league with Holyoke, Central, Northampton, West Springfield, Longmeadow, all big schools and all pretty traditionally good schools in terms of good programs. Taconic will play in the state tournament in Division 5. So this is a great way for them to really get tuned up for that tournament. They are facing difficult competition. When you also consider that their three, Berkshire County independent games are against Hoosick, Wacona, and Pittsfield. So they've got a rugged schedule.
Yeah, and I think that's the right thing to do. I think the schedule makers, the athletic directors, whoever were involved with making the PHS and Taconic schedules did the right thing. I think they're in the right leagues based upon their enrollment. I understand, but don't agree necessarily with the MIA and the way Taconic High School is treated. I wasn't happy when Drury had to play Worcester Tech that had over 2,000 kids a couple years ago. But that's the way they choose to put the technical schools. And because there's technical shop at Taconic High School, that's where they're going to be. And you got to live with that. And the coaches, any guest that we had on here, Tim, would tell you the same thing. Hey, look, you may not agree with it. Get over it. Get your kids ready because you're going to be playing them. That's the way it is. And they're only going to get better. PHS boys and girls are only going to get better because of playing the up teams, as we call them, the larger schools in Western Mass. And they just had a doubleheader at the Boys Club where the girls and the boys just played too, where Taconic got the best of PHS in fairly good ball games, though.
Right, they were both good ball games. Switching our attention now to the boys, Rick, locally, in the girls' action, Drury and McCann Tech, they haven't played. Drury's been off now since they lost to Wacona on December 30th. They will play host Lee on January 18th, but that's a long time between games, and McCann has not played.
Yeah, and we'll start with the Blue Devils, Tim. And yeah, they haven't played since they lost to Wacona. And you know what? So something that they may be practicing every day. Coach Reset may have them going 100 miles an hour in the Bucky Bullet gym, but all they can think about is their next game. They have to put that loss to Wacona behind. I'm sure they have already. But nevertheless, you're not coming off a win. You're still coming off that loss, and they want to get back, and they want to prove to their coach, and Coach said it, they weren't ready to play Wacona that night. They didn't shoot well. They just weren't ready, and they want to be ready when they go back on the court again. And I don't know if they're going to have the Berkshire County record for most days off in between games, but it's going to be about 18 by the time that they host Lee on January 18th. And they did have one game at home against Pioneer Valley and one game at Maher, both postponed.
Hoosick Valley, Rick, they got one game in. They got one game postponed at the present time, a game that we were going to cover for Northern Berkshire Community Television game against South Hadley, which has got a nice team this year. But the Hurricanes came away with another victory against Palmer, and they stand at 5-1 right now.
Yeah, they did get one game in. Excuse me, and they outscored Palmer, Tim, 20-3 in the fourth quarter to overtake Palmer and win that game in Cheshire by a score of 52-38. So the game was certainly closer in the first half than the final score indicated. Frank Field, the incredible sharpshooting sophomore with 22 leading the way for the Hurricanes.
Right.
Carson Mesor also in double figures with 10, and sophomore Joey McGovern with 9. So the two leading scorers for Coach Robinson, Mesor and Field, continue to produce. And as long as he gets some double figures from anybody else, whether it's Caleb Harrington, whether it's Joey McGovern, it doesn't matter. As long as he gets Sean Kastner Jr., whoever's contributing is going to help. So when you see the successful teams, boys or girls, and you look at the box scores, yeah, they have their leading scores. They're pretty consistent. But when you see the balance, 6, 7, 8 points, those are the teams that are very successful.
Now talk about a team, Rick, that's on a roll. Let's talk about the Mount Greylock Mounties. We said early on at the beginning of the season, when Greylock got off to a slow start at 0-2, we said, watch out, Coach Bob Thistle's teams always get better, and here they are, they're on a roll.
Yeah, and here we go, and we were exactly right. And they won their fourth straight game after 2 losses by taking down Athol 70-51. Seamus Barnes with 20 points and 12 rebounds. Max McAllister had 15. Jackson Powell had 10. And then they won their 5th game in a row. So now they're standing at 5-2 by topping Lennox. The Millionaires down in Lennox the other night, 63-48. Chase Doyle, this time leading the score for Mounties with 19. Seamus Barnes with 15 and Judge Martin with 10. So Coach Thistle's getting scoring from several different kids. And Seamus Barnes sometimes it's Max McAllister, sometimes it's Chase Doyle. So they have kids, moving in and that's good. You want balanced scoring. You want your kids to score. They don't have to be double figures, but the more kids that do contribute, the easier it is for the coach.
Well, and that leads us to our boys' high school player of the week. It's from Mount Greylock, Seamus Barnes.
Yeah, Seamus, again, had an incredible, he had a double-double against Athol with 20 points and 12 boards and 15 against Lennox. So they're doing pretty well, Tim. Maybe we can talk just for a minute about the boys' leagues. But Mount Greylock, year in and year out under Coach Thistle, takes them a while to get started sometimes, slow starters, but great finishers. And he usually gets his team playing their best basketball mid-season to the end of the season. I don't see that changing this year at all.
Well, okay, and reviewing the boys' leagues, Rick, and we'll run them down now and get a chance. Talk about Mount Greylock. They're in the Hampshire North. They're on top with a 3-0 record. They have a 5-2 overall. Their league, Smith Academy, Lee, Athol, Franklin Tech, and Turner's Falls. So you're looking at that lineup. Greylock's got a good shot at winning that league.
Yeah, you want to talk about being in the right league? This may be the cream of the crop right here. This probably, if you focus on those 4 teams that you're watching on your screen right now, the Blue Devils, the Hornets, the Hurricanes, and the Mount Greylock Mounties, that's where Mount Greylock wants to be and needs to be. They got to be really, really happy with that. And going in, when their athletic director and coaching staff was told where they'd be playing, you don't know right away what the season's going to hold. Right. But as Tim, as you mentioned, they're 3-0 in the league, 5-2 overall, sitting at the top, very competitive. I see them winning that league. I really, really do.
On the boys' side, boys Hampshire South, a jury in the league, they're on top of the conference at 3-0, 5-2 overall. They're with Pioneer Valley, Hopkins Academy, Frontier, Lennox, Greenfield, and Mahar. And I would say, from early indications, Rick, that jury stands a very good chance of winning the Hampshire South. Yeah,
a lot's happened, Tim, as Drury hasn't been playing basketball. And let me explain. Pioneer was undefeated. They lost their first game to Hopkins Academy. So I look at the top teams in the Hampshire South as Pioneer Valley, Drury, and Hopkins. No disrespect at all, please, to Frontier, Lennox, Greenfield, and Mahar, but just based upon what I saw over the last couple of seasons, what I see coming into this season, what I've seen so far this season, those are the 3 top teams. Drury is definitely going to compete for the top spot in that division. So Pioneer has suffered their first loss. Drury has 2 losses. no shame there either to Wacona and Monument Mountain at home, but 3-0 in the league, the only undefeated team in the league. And an upset, Tim, that just happened last night, Greenfield knocked off Hopkins Academy. So Hopkins now has 2 losses. So they kind of could knock each other off. I'm not sure. I don't see Drury having much trouble with Frontier, Lennox, Greenfield, and Mahar. Again, no disrespect to those programs. That's the strength of Coach Rissett's team. That's why I'm saying that. I see them being very competitive with great ball games against Hopkins and Pioneer, who they haven't played yet. Those games were postponed, but they're going to have to play a home and home because they're in the league.
And then you switch down to the Berkshires, the boys Bi-County East, and what a tough league that is, Rick.
Yeah, that is a great league too, and they kind of know what they're doing, Tim. They're putting some strong teams in that league, kind of like what they did with the Hoosick girls in their league with Wacona in there. And so in that Bi-County East, you've got the undefeated Wacona Warriors. Am I surprised? No, not really. Not under Coach Belcher. Based upon what they did last year to this year, yeah, a little bit. But he's got his kids playing well.
Right.
You know, you think about Wacona, you think about football, you think about basketball. Girls basketball, always incredibly strong athletic programs. So you got Wacona at 7-0, Hoosick Valley at 5-1. Of course, their only defeat was. Do you remember which one?
The
that
Bay
was?
State.
It was a Bay State. Yeah, again, no shame there. Yeah,
Right.
and so that's why the Hurricanes have that one loss. You got Monument, South Hadley, Palmer, and East Hampton. So again, you could be a decent basketball team and finish last in that league. And that's just the way it goes because you're going to lose some close ball games. But these are traditionally very, very good teams from either Berkshire County and or the Pioneer Valley. That's going to be great. It could go anywhere. I'm not sure about Bay State. Like you said, they've already beaten Hoosick. They haven't played Wacona yet. Those teams could knock each other off. It's going to be a dogfight in that league.
With the cancellations, some recent cancellations, Rick, I did reach out to Hoosick Valley head coach Bill Robinson to talk with him about the prospect of rescheduling these games and how that's going to work. And although he's hopeful, he's at the same time skeptical as to whether or not they're going to be able to reschedule everything. It just really depends at this point how many games get postponed and how flexible teams are in rescheduling. He said you're going to see situations where teams may be playing 2-3 games in a row in order to get all these games in prior to tournament selection.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see that already, Tim, as I prepare to do the show with you every week. I take a look at some of the cancellations, and I got to say, I'd like to say it on air, thank you to Athletic Director Dave Reset and Robin Finnegan.
Right.
David, of course, from Drury, and Robin Finnegan, the new AD at McCann Tech, for keeping me posted on the rescheduling of their games, which makes it very difficult for us because we have to have our time to be able to do the games. We need a camera operator, and we've had some last-minute cancellations. And for some of us, Tim,
right,
the volunteer here at Northern Berkshire Community Television, it's not a big deal. But it does take time away from our camera operators that have other plans, have families, have other activities too. So it's been very difficult, but thanks for keeping us updated. But yeah, you're right. Coach Robinson's probably right too. Did it happen at the wrong time or the right time? I'm not really sure yet. Maybe the right time. Maybe there's enough time because you can go a little bit into February. And so they're already brought makeup games into February. But yes, you're going to see teams playing, I would say at least, and this is if we stay clean from here on, probably 4 games a week with back-to-back-to-backs.
Right. Let's turn our attention, Rick. We have a moment here about 2 big upcoming games, or games of the week, both on the girls and the boys side. We got 2 of them. And on the girls side, the rematch of the Berkshire County Titans, Wacona and Hoosick. This one's going to be played at Wacona. That's coming up Thursday, January 20th at 7 o'clock. And we don't know. There's still the possibility that game may be broadcast live in conjunction perhaps with Pittsfield Community Television in a county-wide basis given the interest in that particular game. But that's going to be a dandy between these 2 teams.
You chose dandy. You could use anything. It's going to be a battle, a war. But it's going to be a good one, that's for sure. It's got to be a close game. It really does. I don't see it going any other way. But you've got a very, very well-balanced Hoosick Valley girls team that lost 4 times in a much different season. I understand that last year, and I know we've talked about that before. Couple close games, couple not so close, but they haven't forgotten. These girls that played for Coach McGovern last year, remember those 4 losses to Wacona. They took care of business opening night up at Cheshire in a very close one. I think they won by 5 points.
Right.
And Coach Kay is going to have her girls ready for this too. And they've got that incredible 1-2 punch at Wacona, Tim. And that's Grace Wigington, who's really come into her own. She's averaging 19.3 points a game. And Olivia Gambaroni at 17. That's that 1-2 tandem. But they get some other scoring too.
Right.
So they are a very disciplined, well-balanced, very defensive-oriented squad. And they can create a lot of havoc. And they know each other well, and they mirror each other in many ways, in programs, in coaching styles, and in the athletes themselves. So it's going to be a real good one.
And on the boys' side, Rick, it doesn't get any better than this one. Drury and Hoosick Valley, up at Hoosick Valley on Saturday, January 22nd. We are hopeful, keeping our fingers crossed, that we're going to be able to bring you that game live from Hoosick Valley on Saturday, January 22nd at 7 o'clock, channel 1302. And Rick, we've done a lot of these ones, and they never fail to entertain.
No, not at all. And as Coach Reset has told us and Coach Robinson has told us, if you can't get up for that one, don't even suit up, put your sneakers on and go out on the floor. You could throw away at most times the records. And I really do believe, Tim, the last couple of times Drury has played up in Cheshire, to me they were favored.
Right.
Not last year, but the 2 previous years, and struggled to win one of them, and actually got beat, which was the 10th win for the Hurricanes, getting them into the tournament.
Right, yeah.
In the previous season. So it's always tough. It's tough for Coach Robinson to bring his team to the Bucky Billet Gym. It's even a little bit more difficult for some reason for Coach Reset's team to exercise things favorably at the Hoosick Valley Gym. But that's the granddaddy of them all. And because of the changes in the schedule, without the Northern Division, there won't be a home and home this year. This year, the boys will be playing up in Cheshire, and it will be a great ball game.
And you're going to see 4, Rick, of the best players in Berkshire County. Carson Meswar, Frank Field for Hoosick Valley. For the Blue Devils, you've got that tandem of Ben Moulton and Louis Gelati.
Yeah, they're great. And then you got the subcast, you know?
Yep.
And I know we talk about Sean
That's
Kastner
right.
and Caleb Harrington, Timmy Brazo, and some of the other kids at Drury, Anthony Pettengill. They're kind of senior oriented, the Blue Devils this year. But what Coach Robinson's got is a couple of incredible sophomores. It's always good to have that. Louis Gelati, only a junior, however.
Right.
He's not a senior, so
Right.
he will be back. But both those coaches will have their teams ready. Hoosick got the better of Drury last season in 2 really good ball games, both of them. One super close in Cheshire that Hoosick pulled away very, very late, and then only about a couple of points, I think, up at the Bucky Billet Gym.
And I'll go out on a limb right now, Rick, and tell you that I think the key to the game for Drury will be Tim Brazo. I think he has the size to cause a lot of problems for Hoosick Valley. Hoosick Valley a little bit undersized up front, so it'll be interesting to see how they combat Mr. Brazo, who's one of the better bigs in Berkshire County.
Yeah, and stay out of foul trouble. That's always the key to any boys or girls game. You get an incredible score with 2 fouls. The traditional coach will basically have you sit for the first half. So that could play a major role. But offense may not be there every night, but both coaches are going to get their best defense out of their players and their best efforts.
Well, let's hope and keep our fingers crossed. And of course, High School Basketball Weekly, seen every Thursday night at this time, 7:30 p.m. Saturday, 10 o'clock, and then rebroadcast again Sunday at 7 p.m. High School Basketball Weekly with yours truly and Rick Boa on channel 1302. That's going to do it for this week, Rick. Hope everybody has a good week. Stay healthy out there, and we'll see you next week on High School Basketball Weekly.